Back to straight facts with man like Sava. How are you, mate? You well? You good?
Yeah, very well. Sitting top of the table. We're about to do the double. So, yeah, why not? Really, really good.
You mean win 2 games in a week when you say double?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, Palace,
Okay.
Palace on Friday night. Yeah. Oh, did you think I meant the league and the cup?
I didn't know what you meant. That's why I wanted to stress. Like, I always ask questions so I can 100% know where someone's coming from. I don't like to assume as best I can. The double is on the way for Spurs. I did see a few Spurs fans moaning about that. And I'm like, bruv, it's no different to playing Wednesday night in the Prem and Saturday. Wednesday night Champions League and Saturday or Sunday in the Prem. It's the same time difference. Like, if I was Spurs now, if I was on top, if I was Spurs fan, I'd want to play every weekend first now. I think it's easier to play first. I know it's very early. I prefer playing first when I'm top of the league because if you win, it puts all that pressure on everybody else. So, it could be an interesting weekend because it's the Manchester derby, and we all know that derbies can throw up interesting results. You guys play first. I mean, you guys could end up being 5 points clear of City by the end of this weekend if all goes your way.
Yeah. Look, first and foremost, I think any Spurs fans complaining about, oh my God, we're playing Monday and Friday. Hang on. This season is 11 and a half, 12 weeks old. We've played 9 games. Spurs are playing a game less than every 10 days at the moment. So I think if you've got 2 games in 5 days, I don't think there's any issues with that, right? They're pro footballers. Why can't they play Monday night and then Friday night? Yeah, it's not the end of the world. In terms of, look, we could be 5 points clear. Look, I said before the game against Fulham, if you had a couple of games and somebody said to you, right, you've got these 2 games, Terry, to go 5 points clear at the top. And we'll leave all title talk aside for a moment, just to go 5 points clear at the top. And someone said, you've got Fulham at home who don't score goals, got a really bad goal difference. Let's be fair, they've got no goal threat at all. I'm not knocking them. They're a decent little team. No goal threat. And then you've got Crystal Palace who have just been battered by Newcastle. Don't really score goals either. I would bite your hand off for those 2 as the 2 games to go 5 points clear. So Spurs have got it in their own hands to go 5 points clear at the top, albeit only for 15, 18 hours, whatever it is, until the other teams play. But yeah, Spurs have put themselves in a nice little position to go on a run. So all is positive.
It is positive. And Monday night was interesting for me because I thought Spurs were excellent. Praise them. A handful of Spurs fans last year that thought I had a Spurs agenda have been DMing me saying, oh, it's so nice to hear you speak good about Tottenham. I said, as I told you, for 12 months, when you do well, I say well done. When you're bad, I say you're bad. It's just it's not about overpraising or underpraising. It's just about giving you my personal opinions. But you guys look great. But a lot of Tottenham fans, okay, we had a mixture. We had a spectrum, I would call it. It's a very popular word in 2023. We had a spectrum of Spurs fans. All very happy.
Yeah.
Some suggesting we're a long way from challenging for or winning a title. Others saying that we are already in a title race. Right down to one opinion, which is we are winning the league.
Yeah.
And I know we spoke about this last week, but there's a lot of Spurs fans that said if we can get past this game week 9 and go top of the league, then I want us taken seriously. We had DODGY on the show saying then we have to be taken seriously. Young Harry on the show saying we are winning the league. We've got to believe in this. If we believe it and we push it, we can manifest it into happening. Do you just think this is still a case of Spurs fans enjoy where you are, praise what we're doing, keep the standards high with the owners, but please relax and calm down? Or are you starting to change your mind, Sav? Or do you believe that this title talk is right to be happening now?
It's October. Like, do you know what? It's October. Look, where we are is brilliant. Let's look at the positives, right? Before I go to what people say, like, show some chest, which is just this kind of really childish nonsense way of saying just be deluded, right? Show some chest, stick up for your team. It's not about sticking up for my team. It's about being honest. So let's look at the positives, and then I'll move to a bit more of feet on the ground in reality. Did any football fan out there, Terry, think that Tottenham could be 5 points clear after 10 games? Now, it hasn't happened yet, but we could do if we beat Palace. No one did. There was no Spurs fan that thought it. There was no fan anywhere for any club. All 92 league clubs, not one fan would have got, yeah, Spurs, 5 points clear after 10 games. So what Postecoglou has done has been nothing short of phenomenal. Yeah, and that is absolutely brilliant. It's to be admired. He's got the 11 playing. We're playing some good stuff. Not always. Not always. I thought the second half against Fulham, I thought we were quite poor. And even Postecoglou actually said that he was disappointed with how we played in the second half. And that's fine. So what we've done is we've put ourselves in a wonderful position now that if the board, if they are ambitious, we've put ourselves in a wonderful position that we can get through to the next transfer window in a good position to say, right, go and strengthen and solidify yourself as a top 4 Champions League club, right? Let's look at that as the first milestone. What we've got, unfortunately, is instead of fans going, oh, I thought we were going to be here, Champions League is doable, they've gone straight over this step and gone to this step of, we're winning a league. Now, right, I'm not here to tell anyone, Terry, to not enjoy it. Of course, enjoy it. It's great. But we're getting to that stage where if you enjoy it, but don't think you're going to win the league title, you're told you're not enjoying it. No. Some of us have been here before, right? Not with just Spurs. So many of us older fans have been there, seen it and done it when you've seen, all right, it's 9 games in. What the table looks like now could look very different after 25 games. Spurs could still be top in 25 games. Spurs could be 4th in 25 games. For me, I've always said, I think I've come on here and been consistent with this every week to you and to everyone in your chat, Terry. I think the big issue for Tottenham is going to be when we start picking up injuries to that first team, which we've been very lucky with. When we start having 7 games in 28 days in December, because at the moment we're playing like every 10 days or something, and then we're going to be going to playing every 3 or 4 days, that will be the test for me of can Tottenham cope? Not the first 11. The first 11 is a good 11. On our day, that first 11, we can beat anyone in the league. Can the squad cope? That, for me, is the key thing. We saw it the other day, right? When Maddison come off, when Son comes off, because these guys are carrying knocks, but playing week in, week out. When those 2 came off, right? No Basuma in there as well. Fulham started to enjoy. Fulham started to enjoy some possession. Fulham started to open us up at the back. Now, they didn't score because they've got nothing. Like, they've got nothing. They were through on goal 3 or 4 times, nothing. A better team punishes you. So for me, can we cope when those players aren't playing for 90 minutes as opposed to taking them off when you're 2-0 up? I don't think that's me being negative. I feel like that's me being cautious as to I see how football goes. I'll give you the biggest example you like, which should be fresh in everyone's memory, Terry. Look at Arsenal last year, right? 1 injury to Saliba. What happened?
Major problems.
Right. Now, I'm not saying that will happen at Spurs, but could happen to any team. 1 big injury. 1 injury to Rodri. Suspension to Rodri. All of a sudden, Man City didn't look as good. Now, I'm not saying they didn't win games just because of him. So you've got, for me, I think you've got to keep our feet on the ground. I did see your show on Monday night. I thought it was hilarious. Big up to Kate for holding her own against whoever that child was. Going, we will win the league. He's not quite learned, has he? He's not quite learned that he's going to get absolutely ridiculed by other fans come May when we don't win the league. So, look, positive times. We're a good team. Let's see what happens when we have to face some adversity. And I don't think we have yet.
I think that's very, very, very fair. And I don't understand football fans nowadays. You know, in the sense of even last year, Arsenal got a lot of praise. But when the season started, everyone goes, you called Arsenal to win the league. I said, I didn't start talking about that until about midway through the season. I said at the start, I predicted them coming 3rd. I said they're going to be a really good team this year. I think they might come 3rd. That was called delusional. Then as they created a lead over Man City and were winning so well and Liverpool weren't in the race, I changed my mind and the prediction ended up not coming right. But I said, I think Arsenal might win the league. I'm actually having Spurs fans say, why are you not praising us like you praised Arsenal last year? And I said, there's 2 reasons. One, it's very early in the Postecoglou rebuild. I still think you got a thin squad. I haven't seen you go through any adversity yet. We'd already seen Arsenal go through adversity and teething problems in the previous seasons. There was a body of work there. And actually, when you actually deep it with Arsenal, the 6 months leading up to the end of that previous 2 seasons ago now, you'd seen the improvements start already. It's just sometimes I think there are some, and this isn't just Spurs fans, I think this is universal. There are lots of fans who are just, in my personal opinion, they are so thirsty for that validation from their rivals. They just want the rivals to say, you're the bee's knees, you're amazing. And it almost gets to a point where no praise is good enough, because just saying, what a great start, what a brilliant manager, Postecoglou, like, yeah, but I want more praise than that. Or how much more praise can you get? Well, say we're going to win the league, or say we're going to be in the title race. I don't know that yet. Oh, you're just a hater. I'm not being a hater. I'm really not. Like, you suddenly pick up a couple of injuries as an example, or hit a bit of bad run, a bit of form, a bit of negativity comes back in, a bit of pressure comes in. Then what? I don't believe it right now. And if you keep winning like this, by the way, if you go for another 9 games and you get better and better, keep winning, get better. And there's actually a super chat, a comment here from Roms that kind of alludes to this. The question for Sab that says, you get to January, you're top of the league, Levy invest, so you're now challengers. I think if you get to January, say the end of January, you're top by 5 points, you've brought in 2 additional players into your squad that you really want, then I think it's a different conversation to have, because there's new evidence, there's new investment, and you've actually got, when I say evidence and data, you're talking about, 10, 50, well, you're looking at, by that point, 19 to 20 games. It's a bigger body of work, and people's minds start to change. I just think Spurs fans should enjoy the ride, and I don't get why they want to apply any more pressure to themselves than they need to. It's crazy to me.
Do you know, the thing is, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I don't want to be that guest that comes on and goes, oh, yeah, you're right. But you are bang on. It's that need for validation. You know what? I don't need anyone's validation, whether they're a Spurs fan or not, to tell me about my football club. Right? I've supported this club for 40 years, Terry. Believe it or not. I know I look 21. I know I'm young and sexy, but I've been supporting Tottenham for 40 years, right? Forget Tottenham. I've supported football for 40 years. And fans don't learn. What we do is we see something. I'm a huge believer in this. We see something here in this short-term bubble here, and that's it. I'm seeing posts this morning from people comparing Richarlison's stats to Martinelli's, to Rashford's, and going, is Richarlison that bad? Yes.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Just because those players are out of form at the moment doesn't mean Richarlison's a good player. Right? This is what we do. It's validation. It's need for immediate, love me, love my club, love my team. I'm going to be honest. I'll call a few people out, right? I don't care. People like Husam, right? I know you have him on here. I'd love to have a debate with that guy. People like Husam can't see out of the bubble of their own little club, can't look at bigger pictures. People who can't actually take a step back and go, hang on. Right? As a rival fan, all I think people should be looking in at Spurs and going is, God, look at the difference between them last season. Right? That's all I think people should be doing. I think the moment they don't do that, then you know they're biased. Do I need anyone to validate that we're winning a league? No. Do I think we're going to win a league? No. Right? I can just be happy that we're top at the moment. We should beat Palace, but you never know. We've not always been great there. We should beat Palace. And if we go top, let's see it then. We've got to play teams like Villa, like Brighton, like Newcastle, right? Like Chelsea. We've got these teams coming up, like Man City. You start winning all those games, Terry, I'll come on here and go, well, you know what, Terry? No one's beating us. No one's beating us. Yeah, we can win a title. At the moment, it's so early, and I don't need that validation. I don't need the validation. I think where I struggle is football fans are too biased. So do you know what? Like, loads of people now going, oh my God, Terry, make the debate happen between Sava and Husam. You know, the problem would be if you tried to have a debate with me and Husam and you sat in the middle, Terry, would be, I can look beyond Tottenham Hotspur. I can look beyond my hatred for other clubs. I can look beyond my bias, right? These fans can't. Everything. It's like when we was having the chats. I call them like I was having the chats with a gal last season. You're salty. I'm not salty. I look beyond the hate. Look beyond the hate. Look past your nose and look and see what is going on around you. Tottenham have had a phenomenal start. A phenomenal start. Get me back on here. Well, it'll be every Wednesday, but get me back on here after 20 games. Let's see where we are after 20 games. If Tottenham are top or second or third within 1 or 2 points of each other after 20 games, yeah, I'm coming in here and going, brilliant. All right. Postecoglou's a miracle worker. Right, Daniel Levy, over to you, mate. Come on then. We've got a January window. What are you giving this man to get us over the line? But you know what? 3 games in football is all it takes.
Mate, and do you know what's really interesting? Listening to Kate speak on Monday was how her rationale had nothing to even do with the players and the manager per se. It was, I don't trust the board to actually go out there and do what's needed in January if we're in and around the title. And I think that's also an element that sometimes I don't think people necessarily comprehend. It isn't even about do I think Postecoglou, or do I think these players are capable? If all your players stay fit and you have no injury problems all year, which has happened before to some teams, then maybe. But you're going to need a squad. I've never seen anybody win a league without having a good squad, and it's the fact that people want to ignore that element and think it's a dig at your manager. I don't see that it's anyone digging out your manager or your players. But as you say, in terms of like some of the over the top stuff, this is one that really. I implore Spurs fans to not believe this fully yet. And don't be drawn in with using the manager that you're all falling in love with as bait. And this headline stated that never before as a Premier League manager has had such a rapidly transformative effect on his squad, a club, and a fan base. Now, that's true from the point of view that no one's ever had this many points in their first 9 games. That's facts. The sub-headline is Spurs are no longer Spursy under Postecoglou. And for me, that is a premature statement. The first part is factual. No one's ever started this well after 9 games. But to say Spurs are no longer Spursy, that is suggesting that you'll never bottle anything ever again, and you're going to start winning major trophies. And I don't think there has been enough evidence, not of Postecoglou per se, but there isn't enough evidence coming out of Tottenham to suggest that your team is going to start becoming a major threat for the major trophies again. Because it isn't just about the manager or the coach being good and the players being good enough. It's the way your club is run and it's the board. And your fan base were protesting against your owners not long ago. Suddenly, after one appointment, by the way, after 3 previous bad ones, suddenly you're not Spursy anymore. I think this is, honestly, it's the media feeding into this frenzy that a lot of Spurs fans want, where they want validation. And much as I've praised you guys, I'm not going to sit here and suddenly start believing that Spurs are no longer the Spurs that we've all, and I mean this with respect, that we've all known and laughed at for our whole lifetime. And you've always been a team that in the end have let the fans down in terms of winning the major trophies in the last 30 plus years, since you won the FA Cup last. And for me, it's a case of the way I'm seeing Spurs spoken about after 9 games. It's been a great start, but that's what it is. It's a great start, and there's a lot more work to do yet. This notion that you're in a title race or you're going to win the league, you're not Spursy anymore. It's a hyper overreaction to what is a very good start, if that makes sense.
Mate, listen, look, what I love about it is that you've got 2 schools of thought. Like as I said, I saw your show on Monday and I saw what that young kid was saying to Kate, and I thought it was just absolutely disrespectful, and I'm glad she wiped the floor with him. But it was this, because she didn't think Spurs were winning a title, it was, have you got an Arsenal shirt on underneath there? let that sink in. That's somebody in your own fan base. It's amazing how quickly fans of their own club want to have a go at other fans. 9 games. You are spot on. Do you know when Spurs will no longer be Spursy? Right? When they don't get knocked out of cup competitions to teams that we should be beating. Right? When they get to a final and get over the line, right? When we don't throw away leads, that's when a team is no longer, I mean, you call it Spursy. I mean, I've been watching the Wrexham documentary and they just call it, we've gone all Wrexham. Like they've got their own term for it, and I'm sure other clubs have got their term for it. It's brilliant what's going on. Do you know what I really love about it, Terry? I really love that I can see a plan. That's all I asked for. I can see a plan. I can see what this manager wants to do. I can see the style of football he wants to play, and I can see that we are a million miles better than we were this time last year. But that doesn't mean we have to win a league in year 1. Like that's the right nowism for me. Do you know what it's like?
Yeah.
I know you're on a fitness kick at the moment, right? And obviously, I don't know what you weigh. I don't know what your key thing is. I'm doing one as well, right? That's like me turning around and saying, you know what? Week 1, I'm making this up, by the way. Week 1. 15 stone, right? For anyone, me, you, whoever. Week 1, I'm 15 stone. You know what? By the end of month 1, I want to be 11.5 stone with a 6-pack. Whoa. Slowly build, slowly process, build, process. That is the same with football, right? Spurs are working on themselves. Spurs are working to make sure that the 11's good. Now we've got to make sure the subs are good. We've got to make sure that our scouting is good. We're implementing those things. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
But why, in 9 games of football, have fans suddenly gone, we're winning a league? No, we're not.
Do you know what? It's also impacting other teams because you get fans of Arsenal, fans of Man United, and hang on a minute. Chelsea up until this last weekend. Well, hang on. Pochettino doing it this quickly. The fact that we're not the best in the country, and my manager's been here 4 years, 2 years, or just as long is a disgrace. It's a marathon and not a sprint. And I'm not suggesting this is going to happen to Tottenham. I'm just saying to fans, what Postecoglou has done is as rare as rocking horse shit because he's just broke a record. Like Gus Hiddink had the record joint. So the 2 other managers had 22 points after their first 9 games. Gus Hiddink did it in 08, 09. So what we're talking 15 years ago. The other guy did it 30 years ago. So in 30 years, it's been done 3 times, which means it's an anomaly to have this many points in your first ever 9 games. That doesn't mean it isn't great and won't continue. However, didn't continue for the Norwich manager, by the way, Mike, whatever his name was. But the point I'm making is everybody's just so quick to react to these things.
I agree.
And it doesn't mean Spurs shouldn't be praised, and I have praised Spurs. And there's a really weird comment that's coming here from my favorite, Mr. Moron, married on the Moron. Which is, why didn't you say things to the Spurs fans yesterday? You're doing the same, Terry, allow it. So there's a few things here. Firstly, I didn't speak to Spurs fans yesterday, so I couldn't have done that. On Monday night show, it's a different show to this. So when it comes to the match reactions, same with a bit like the top 6 show, there are times in the shows where I like to just sit back and listen and let the panelists have their say and talk about things. Man United, I'll jump in. But it's there. And when you say I'm doing the same things, allow it, I don't know what that means. You've got to specify more. But yeah, I can't speak to Spurs fans. And also, when it comes to the graphic I just put up, they said it came out yesterday afternoon. So I didn't get the chance to speak to Spurs fans about it because there was no show to talk to them about. But thank you. This here says, how much of a points gap will change opinions? Come on, you Spurs, from Phil.
How much of a points gap? Big up, Phil, by the way. When in the season, I think is still the key thing. I think, look, we witnessed Arsenal last season have a massive lead and throw it away. And I said just now, 3 games. 3 games, Terry. 3 games ago, yeah, everyone wanted Poch out. He hasn't lost a game in about 5 now, like including cup games in the middle of those 3 league games, right? A month ago, oh my God, Eddie Howe. Last year was a fluke. Look how bad Newcastle are. Since then, they've battered PSG. They've battered Palace. They've battered Sheffield. You're not right. Aston Villa. Oh, battered on the first day of the season. Aston Villa, they're terrible. It was a fluke. Now Aston Villa are flying up that league table. 11 wins at home in a row, right? Man United, oh, this manager's got to go. This manager's got to go. Look at them, right? Are they playing well? No, but they're starting to put some wins together. 3 games is massive. Now, I've just given you 3 positive examples. It can go the other way. And that's what happened last year to Arsenal. They had that 3-game spell, Southampton, Liverpool and West Ham. Didn't win any of them. And Man City went, thank you very much. We'll win our 3 games in hand. Boom. And that's how quickly it changes.
I think
points gap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think on top of that as well, in terms of good starts when it comes to Spurs, I've seen Everton under Roberto Mancini and under Carlo Ancelotti have impeccable starts to seasons and fade away. I don't think Spurs are going to drop away. I think they're going to be in this top 4 race 100%. I think they'll make the Champions League if they maintain what they're doing, barring horrific injuries to the squad. But I don't think you'll maintain top of the league this season because of the squad. But I think with the right investment, you'll keep getting better. Points gap to change people's minds. It will be based on, I agree with you. It's going to be based on points gaps and how you're playing and how your opponents are playing. I think if City weren't as relentless in that run-in as they were last year, more people might have believed in Arsenal doing it. Because if City dropped an extra 6 or 7 points, Arsenal would have won the league. So there's a multitude of factors, I think.
Can I just add to that as well, really quickly? I don't think Spurs are playing as well as a lot of Spurs fans think they're playing as well. Now, that's not a knock. Now, what I mean by that is, I think I watched the Luton game. I wasn't convinced. Yeah, we got the win. That's the important thing. But lots of people now are going, oh, Ange Ball, and we're doing this. I thought against Fulham, again, a decent 30-minute spell in the first half. Second half, I thought we were crap. Against Sheffield United, I didn't think we were that good. I thought against Liverpool, we were, let's call it for what it is. Against Liverpool, we were lucky. They went down to 9 men, and they were better than us until we got the man off. So I think people need to relax, because every time there's an international game, Son or Romero, right? There's always oh my God, did you see that Klinsmann didn't take off Son? And oh my God, can't believe it. I thought it was one of us. Thought it was Spurs. Can't believe it. What he's trying to do to us. That's how much we worry. We worry that one of these players gets out, and now we've not got any backup for them. So now I'll ask you, Terry, 7 games in December, every 3 or 4 days. Are we saying that Maddison, Son, Romero, Van der Ven, Basuma, Sarr, they're going to play 90 minutes every 3 or 4 days without picking up injury, without picking up suspension, without picking up bad form? I just don't buy it. But I'll say this, the last thing I'll say on this, Terry, I would love to be sitting here in May going, how good have Spurs been, and we've won the league? I'd love to be sitting there doing that. But you know what? All these people that are telling me Spurs are going to win a league, when we don't win a league, they'll go, oh, but we weren't meant to, and that wasn't our remit for the year. Yeah, of course it's not. That's what I'm saying now. Of course it's not. It's about
I don't think it makes like this is one of those areas like I call out people's opinions all the time. It's part of what we do, and me and Lee Gunner clash on a regular basis on it isn't even his opinions sometimes, it's the logic behind them that I sometimes don't quite get, or I didn't agree with him being angry last night over Arsenal's win, which I know we'll get onto, but he's still an Arsenal fan. I don't believe he wears a Spurs shirt under his top. I don't believe he's really I don't believe he's a plant or anything along those lines. And I think calling Spurs fans fake Spurs fans because they're not yet convinced that you're winning the league this season is insane to me. Brian says it was 2 injuries to Tomiyasu and Saliba at once. Thank you, Brian. Terry, please do a fan call-in show. Yeah, we will be returning very, very soon to the terrace. We'll be bringing some of those back. Don't worry. Sava is spot on, and he has to deal with these deluded Spurs fans on a daily basis. It's a great start, and hopefully it continues, is what Martin says here. I did want to ask you though about staying away from Spurs. What did you make of what did you make of the craziness in the Man United game yesterday? Sort of Maguire and Onana, who have been kind of villains for Man United as of late, sort of stepping up and being the heroes. And I mean, I don't remember seeing, definitely not my club, I can't remember a penalty save being the very last action of a game to stop the draw from happening. All important win. What did you make of it?
I mean, it was, as far as Onana's concerned, it's the sort of action that needs to switch attention. And what I mean by that is the sort of action in a game where it can give you great confidence and maybe now he can settle down, because it has been a very, very underwhelming kind of introduction to the Premier League for this guy in his first 10 games or whatever he's played for Man United. Can that give him confidence? Can that now settle down the nerves? Possibly. But again, it all remains to be seen. Harry Maguire with a header. I mean, I would fully expect Harry Maguire to score that header. Nothing changes for me with that guy. I still think he's poor. Listen, I think he does okay in games. I think there are games where you go, okay, you've not really done anything wrong. You're okay. But I do believe that Man U shouldn't have a player like Harry Maguire playing at centre-back for them if they really, truly want to build and grow. But Onana's the one. Onana's the one that you've got to look at and say, use this as a turning point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he made 2 massive saves in the game that helped us, and we needed him. And of course, we needed the goal from Maguire, because our strikers, in fact, all of our attackers are just off the pace. Højlund's actually playing quite well in terms of his general play. Everybody else, though, Anthony, Rashford, Garnacho, when he came on, there's either lots of things wrong, or the final touch or the final ball is off, and it's horrible to watch. One thing I did notice yesterday, and I spoke about it a few times now, in the second half, Bruno Fernandes got put back into his position, which he was shit up for Man United for 2.5 years, and that was playing off the striker. And he got put back in there in the second half, and he looked a different player. And he was getting balls into the box. He's influential. And it's one of these things that's what he's good at. And I do look at the Man United manager and think to myself, what he's done with that, and he called it out himself. People don't listen sometimes to these things. He was talking about it in his post-match interview. Everyone's laughing about the situation with the non-handshake with Laura Woods instead of actually listening to the interview where they questioned him about what's gone wrong. And he did say, look, we've had a lack of consistency at the back with the injuries to so many defenders. But he was basically saying that the midfield just haven't been getting things right in terms of what they're being instructed to do as of right now. And I think that he's trying to find that balance within his team. And it's an interesting listen, but he has to get it right. And part of that is playing players in their more natural positions. And we've done too much chopping and changing. We haven't got the balance right. And our biggest issue yesterday at times, we didn't have enough quality footballers on the ball. When you've got Eriksen on the bench and we're not really being pressed, if you're in a game where you're not being pressed, that's when Eriksen's got to be on the pitch because he's going to be fine in an environment like that. So it was a weird game last night. There were some things to really be happy about. Onana as an example. I was happy for Maguire because I don't, when I've been angry at him, I felt like I've hated him. And I felt that way because you're emotional about your football club. But I don't want to see anybody's careers fall apart. I don't think he deserves that. I don't think he's a horrible human being. I do agree with you, though, that there's a lot of revisionism around his time at the club. And there's a real weirdness online right now. There's a lot of Man United fans that are bought into this idea that if we drop Bruno and Rashford permanently, we'll improve as a football club. These are the same people that said if we dropped Maguire from the football club, we'd improve. They're now singing and praising, saying, wow, look how good he's been. These are the same people, by the way, because we had Staff. I didn't even clock until I rewatched the show today. But Staffy, one of our United fans, came on last night and called out Naji, who was critical of Onana, and he was like, see, I told you like you shouldn't have gone on Onana. And then I didn't deep it till afterwards. So this guy was blaming Casemiro for our midfield being run through all season and wanted him sold. And he's missed the last 2 games and it's still being run through. And this is where I get annoyed at United fans. Genuinely, is Rashford's got to go, will improve. Casemiro's a problem. The problem, he's got to go. Ronaldo was the problem. Ronaldo was a problem. Maguire was a problem. Pogba at times was a problem. For me, more his fitness. But none of these people were the reason we were bad, like people were making out. And you can go all the way back to Fellaini, right up to now. And our fans, and I suppose that's why I kind of empathize with what you say and what Kate say about Tottenham. Because you're like, we've been here before with these really good starts or good runs. Calm down for a little bit. Man United fans, we've been here before where we're not playing well. We scapegoat player X and player Y, and we delude ourselves into thinking if they go, we will improve. And it's after 10 years, there's no evidence that getting rid of 1 or 2 players is actually the problem at Man United. And I'm not suggesting don't buy better players, but that's why the Maguire situation is so funny at the moment, because he was seen as the biggest problem a year ago. Now suddenly it's, actually, he's a bit of a savior. He's doing. I'm actually seeing Man United fans tweet things like, I don't even think we should have even bought Lisandro Martinez. Not all of them. Some. I'm just sitting there like, my mind's gone. My head's gone with this stuff.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is that I hear you, right? We all do it, right? As fans, we all look at our players and go, if that player leaves, we'll be fine. Normally at clubs, it tends to be with the fringe players. So, for example, I do it with people like Richarlison, right? The problem with Man U is Rashford and Bruno Fernandes are 2 of Man U's stalwarts over the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. So, sure, all right, drop them. Who are you bringing in that's better? That's the key thing for me. For me, I'm all for it. I don't think any player in world football, unless your name is like, not now, but unless you're a Messi and Mbappe or Ronaldo, you are not undroppable. But who are Man U bringing in? Who are Man U putting in instead of Marcus Rashford that's better? So this is where the question for me is, it's not so much about those 2, for example. It's about what the manager does. I would be looking, if I was the Man U manager, I'd be looking at, right, Bruno Fernandes had a wonderful 18 months to 2 years when he first came in, right? His numbers were through the charts. I'd be looking back and going, what did the managers do to get that out of him? Where was he playing? Can I get that back again? Because no matter what we all think about Bruno Fernandes, his figures when he's on his day are brilliant. And he can create and he does score goals. Rashford, again, purple patch. He's a purple patch player. I'll be asking that question, what's the best position to play him? What's the best thing to do to get that guy consistently doing that? So at the moment, I look at Man United and go, right, all right, drop Bruno. Who are you replacing Bruno with right now? Who are you replacing Rashford with right now? Garnacho? Palestri? Who you bringing in that's
Mate,
better?
and that's the great question. And this is the irony. I actually think Rashford should be dropped. But this notion that he can't do something for our club and he's got to go, I think he's wrong. I think he's completely and utterly wrong. If we can bring in someone that's better and more consistent than him, do it. But as long as Rashford's happy to be at the club, I still think he can be impactful for us. As you say, he's Palestri, as an example. A clearer player like him. I don't think Palestri will ever be at Rashford's level overall as a football player. He's in awful form right now. I wouldn't mind him being dropped. But let's not pretend like the Garnachos and the Martials are coming off the bench and looking good. Martial looks sharp in a couple of games, but they're not coming on. You're going, wow, they're moving the needle. They're not coming on and you're thinking, got to start the next game now. The one player who's come into the games recently and played well, and you go, I think he's got to start, has been Maguire. Now, for attackers, if Martial's coming on with 20 minutes to go, 25 minutes to go, and he's tearing it up, scores a goal, looks potent, then yes, start him. But if he's coming on and having the same impact, which is zero, as Rashford, you get into a point where, dropping him may or may not help, but you've got no one else who's coming in that's of a certain level. So I get their points, but yeah, it's crazy to me. But it was an important win. I think Onana, that save from Onana, I hope that kind of kicks him into gear. Yeah, Eriksen as well. Eriksen, you're right, has looked good as well. That's a great point there. This here says, so you man are saying the players can't be replaced. There's thousands of players, scout them.
That's again, I don't like it when people do this. That was not what was said at all. No one said you can't buy better. What I'm saying is they don't have the players right now. I could sit here right now and go, oh my God, drop Papa Sarr. You know what? Yeah, drop Papa Sarr. We'll just go and buy Mikel Merino from Real Sociedad. Yep. But at the moment, Mikel Merino.
I think with Rashford, it's harder. I think with Bruno, you could look at playing Eriksen in that role as an example. Some people want to see Mount tried in that role. So you've got a couple of people you could try for Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion. But the crazy thing is with Bruno, as poor as he's been, only Maddison in the league has created more chances than him this year from open play. And in totality, including set pieces, he's joint top of overall chances created. So if you're going to take Bruno out, there has to be equally high chance creation. Otherwise, you might look better, but if you don't have the numbers, you're still going to lose. However, when it comes to bringing better into the football club, that can't be done until January. So if that's your case, if you say, Terry, would you rather keep Rashford or sign someone better? My answer is always going to be sign someone better. So Maradona, you never need to type that again, because me and you're in agreement. Your club should always look for better. If you've got the second best striker in the world, but you can suddenly go and buy the best striker in the world, on paper, you should do that. Unless that striker is a completely different stylistically and you don't want to mess the flow of your team up, but you should always do it. So yeah, we agree, Maradona. It's as simple as that. Snippet, Terry, Bruno is replaceable. Yeah, I said he's the one that we could try it with. I don't know why I'm being challenged here. You're challenging me with an argument which is the same as what I made. I think it's definitely more. I think you can definitely try it with Bruno. With Rashford right now, there isn't anyone in our squad that's better than him, even when he's at right now. Who's got better form than him? Who's playing well? Who's come in and there isn't anybody. We need to buy someone, if not that. Far better creators than Bruno. Who? Again, who's a better creator than Bruno? And can we bring him into the Man United squad now or in January? Let me know who they are. I wanted to ask you about the Tonali situation as well. It looks like he's going to get a 10-month ban from football, so a more significant ban than Ivan Toney. And I think that's because obviously he has admitted to betting on his own team. He's also admitted to illegal gambling. It turns out the illegal gambling, as far as I've read, is things like blackjack, where in Italy that's illegal, in the UK it's not. So it isn't like a underground illegal betting kind of thing, is in something that's sort of really dangerous. It's just what he's betting on is legal in the UK, legal in most of Europe, but not in Italy. But he's going to get a 10-month ban. Harsh, fair? What's your view on that?
I mean, 10 months is a long time. I feel like there's definitely, I think the Toney one was too long. I think this one's too long. For me, I think that these people could be getting, 4, 5, maybe 6 months top with some support to help them with their gambling. I do think 10 months basically taking a whole year out of someone's career, I do feel is a lot. But again, I'm saying that from a point of view of I don't know the in-depth nature of it, right? I don't know how sordid it is. I don't know whether it was innocent and he just was, I shouldn't have done that, or whether it was really, really bad and he was coerced into betting against his team for X, Y, Z. But it does seem like it's a big, it does seem like a big punishment for anyone, 10 months. But I don't know. At the same, I'm torn on this one, mate, because at the same time, footballers know the rules, right? They know the rules. You can't be betting. If you're a footballer, I mean, what money does Tonali make a week? What do we reckon Tonali makes a week? I don't know. Any Newcastle fans, 70, 80, 90 grand? I don't know, 100 grand? Does he need to be gambling? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the backstory to it? Why is he doing it? Is it an illness? Is it that he is addicted? So tough one, but listen, if you get 160 grand a week, someone's saying he's on. Yeah, look, for me, I'd much rather see a 6 month, maybe a mandatory 6 month with a program attached to that to help support the addiction. But yeah, I understand some people view it a bit harsher, so it's a tough one.
Yeah, look, I know some people have a very, very, very dim view on gambling. I personally don't, in the sense of I like a little bit of a flutter. I like going to a casino. I'm very fortunate and lucky that it's something that I have under control, and I never feel, I don't like losing the money. I always set it aside and I hit a limit and then I stop. It's the same as I like consuming alcohol every now and then. I don't have a problem with it, so therefore I don't look at it in a kind of demonic way, or it's not something that's against my culture or my religion. So I understand that everyone has a different view of certain vices, alcohol and drinking and whatever else it may be. Sorry, alcohol and the gambling. I feel though the fact that he's been doing it, and I get it, there's an addiction here, and I know that some people believe that things that you're addicted to shouldn't ever be punishable, and that's an argument. But under the rules of the game that he is engaging in, it's against the rules and legislations. The illegal gambling side of things has nothing to do with football. But that's the end of the day. He's broken actual laws as well, that in Italy are taken very, very seriously. And you can't just be exempt from that because over here in the UK, we wouldn't take that. There's laws. There's all laws around the world that don't exist in the UK. But if you're out of the UK and you break them, you're still going to get in trouble at the end of the day. And I think that the punishment probably befits the crime. It's who I feel sorry for. I feel sorry for the player in his addiction, and I hope he gets help, and I hope he gets support, and I hope that he doesn't. If he is truly, as has been stated, it is something that he doesn't want to do, but he's addicted to it, then I hope he gets better. I really do. Yeah. I do feel really sorry for Newcastle though, because I feel as though Newcastle have been ripped off. Genuinely, I don't know if they'll ever discover this. I don't know whether this information will ever come to light, and I don't know why it would. AC Milan certainly wouldn't want it to. The agent certainly wouldn't want it to. The player probably can't afford for it to. But I have a feeling that Inter Milan, the agent of the player, knew about this well ahead of time. Yeah. Knew what was coming.
Let's get out of here.
And they got him out of AC Milan. They got AC Milan lots of money so they could reinvest. And they took him out of the firing line. And what's really interesting for me is when the deal happened, everybody was shocked. Not because Newcastle are not growing and they were in the Champions League. Nobody expected this young midfielder who is a Milan fan to leave in this way, unless it was a colossal amount of money offered. And 70 million is a lot of money. But when you now look back with hindsight and how everybody reacted to it, coupled with this ban and all the gambling situation that's come out, my gut feeling, and this is an opinion, I'm not making any accusations, my opinion is that AC Milan have absolutely screwed Newcastle United over here, and they're going to be without him now for the rest of this season, although we can play tonight, I believe, and maybe the first month or two a part, of next season. There'll be no, I don't know if he can train, but he won't have a proper preseason because he won't be able to play.
Yeah.
I do feel for Newcastle and their fans. I mean, he's started okay in England. Looks like he needs a little bit of time to settle. But if he gets the same type of ban that Ivan Toney did, and he has to spend the next 5-6 months where he can't even train, this isn't even about him just coming back next year. He's a younger age than Toney. There's development that needs to happen. So it's a big punishment. It's sad for Tonali, but I really feel for Newcastle and their fans. I feel like they've been hoodwinked. I really do.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. Let's assume, like you said there, let's assume that Eddie Howe and Newcastle knew nothing about it, all right? Let's assume that the people involved in the transfers knew nothing about the gambling. If that is the case, which I'm sure it is, then I feel massively sorry for them because you've gone out, spent the bulk of their transfer budget this window, if I'm not wrong, was on this guy. I think he was their main signing. If I'm not wrong, someone might tell me if I'm wrong, but you've gone out with this guy in mind. He's a key part to your midfield, to the partnership that he's building with the likes of Matty Longstaff and Bruno Guimaraes. And then all of a sudden, someone turns around and goes, right, you haven't got this guy for 10 months. Now, yeah, it's the same as if someone does their cruciate ligament. But, this is something they've just spent a lot of money on. They could feel very, very harshly done by. And if I was there, I'll be honest, if I was them, and they probably wouldn't want this unwanted attention, but I would immediately be asking questions of Milan and going, hang on, did you know this? Did you know this? Why are we in this situation right now? Is this why you are happy to let him go? So yeah, I do feel sorry for them. And then, this means now in January, the window's 2 months away from being open. They need to now go out and get a new midfielder in. And whether or not they can get a good loan player, whether they're going to go and spend more money, have they got the money because of FFP? So it is unfair on them. I mean, someone in your chat said it's your fault not searching the player and learning of his character. I mean, there are certain things you won't know. Like, there's certain things that, you can't blame the clubs for that. How would they know? If it's not out there in the open, Terry. Yeah. Like, how would my work know if I had a secret gambling addiction and that every night I went home from my job and I did £1,000 on gambling? How would they ever find that out?
Yeah, I think that it's, as you say, maybe now what clubs will do is add an extra layer of due diligence. So try and maybe find a way through connections to see whether any type of, are there any, because I mean, again, this is movie talk, but you see a movie where there's a local bad guy and his lawyer has got connections at the sort of the district attorney's office, and it's like, oh yeah, we're hearing that there's an indictment coming down. You know what I mean? And I don't know how to explain it in football terms because I don't understand the legal element of it, but connections where they can go, right, is there any criminal cases coming up against this player? Is there any kind of accusations? Almost like to a point where you'd have to put a private investigator on a player for a couple of months to investigate their life, to find out stuff about them. So, that's the only way you'd ever find out everything about them. And maybe, just maybe, that is the way to go. However, this is a massive anomaly. This is something which I don't remember seeing this before. Player moves clubs. And as Rom says here, spot on tell, Tonali was one of their own, so talented and seen as the future. It was bizarre when he was sold. That's the there was a red flag when it happened and nobody could quite work it out. We all assumed that he weren't really that good. And Milan were like, well, might as well get rid of him. Can't believe we're being offered this amount of money. But yeah, there's something about it that just feels as dodgy as a £9 note when it comes to this one. It really does.
The thing is, it's not like, with an injury, you can get injury records. Yeah. You can check and see, have these people ever been checked into alcohol programs, addiction programs? Cool. With all these other things, how are you finding this out? I think fans can be so harsh when we say things like, I don't blame Newcastle for this. I don't blame them at all. It's, if you are addicted to something, people hide it very well. How many people do you think go to work every day in their lives but are functioning alcoholics? And how many of their colleagues don't know?
Well, yeah. People hide all sorts of things. And as Maradon here says, you have to do your due diligence on players, not just buy them because they're available. And yet you're right, there is due diligence. But then again, sometimes in life, it takes a scandal like this for new layers of due diligence to be done. And I used to do a lot of due diligence when I worked in the bank, when you onboarded people. Every now and then, and thankfully it's never happened to me, you'd follow the process, but then something would seep through and there would be fraud or there would be money laundering. And suddenly we'd all got to be sent on a course or a digital course, and it would come through and it'll all be explained. And then there was a new layer of due diligence that was added that you had to follow and go through. And you may have a plan and a process that's down in it, but the point is, if AC Milan and the agents have hoodwinked Newcastle, it means they've covered it up. Therefore, the due diligence may not pick things up. So it is a difficult one. I do feel sorry for them. I really, really do. And I get that maybe they missed something, but even then, I just feel sorry for them. I
do. I really, really do, mate. Listen, at the end of the day, last thing I'll say on it, you've got to remember with these things, as football fans, we can speculate. We'll be told what we need to be told. But as always, when the truth comes out, it'll probably be very different to what we all think we know. We all think we know everybody's personal life inside out. And there's more to stories than we're led to believe most of the time. So for me, I just, we'll see what happens. But I don't think it's this, thing that we can bash Newcastle over the head with at the moment.
Personally doubts that Milan knew with how much stuff leaks nowadays. They either are masters at keeping things quiet or knew nothing. Do you know what I'd say to that, Jay? Now, this is again just truth. What are the media like in Italy in terms of intruding into the personal lives of players? Because I know I remember listening to a ex-French player speak, and he said that in France, the media will criticize you for your footballing elements, but they won't do a hit piece on the food you buy from a supermarket or the car you drive or the house you own, which we do in England. Our media here are very intrusive into the lives of football players. What is that like in Italy? Is it something they seek? If you get where I'm coming from. So my point of view is very much, does personal information leak readily? Maybe it does. If it does, then I'll agree with your point, or at least agree with where you're coming from. But I need to understand what the media is like, because there may not be, if there's no appetite for that kind of personal scandal. The mafia strikes again. Come on now. I doubt it. This here says Milan 100% knew. There is no way they were selling Tonali for that amount of money. Fair point. Back to what we were saying earlier about better players than Bruno Fernandes. This is the type of answers you get. So many, Terry, followed by, and I love this because it contradicts the point, no, you can't buy any of them because they won't join Man United. So again, so this is deep to your point. Let's just agree. I agree with you. There's a million better players out there than Bruno, but by your own logic, none of them will join Man United. So again, the point that you need better than Bruno becomes elementary. It's a completely academic conversation if we can't replace him, isn't it? It just, what's the point? It's well done there, mate. You honestly, I thought Maradon the moron was come out with the silliest comments. That's that just takes the biscuit, brother. That takes the biscuit, brother. I wanted to ask you about Arsenal last night as well, because last night they silenced a lot of doubters. They silenced a lot of haters. A really important win for them, away at a very tough place as well in European football. What did you make of their display and the victory overall? Because online there's some very jubilant, happy Arsenal fans, and then there are others who are seething with the performance. And I just wanted to kind of get your take on that as a sort of neutral to a degree.
Yeah, great win for them. Superb win. I think it falls into the category of it doesn't matter how you play, just get the win. Because, listen, after the defeat against Lens, they had to win that game. They did. I didn't think it was a great performance. I watched it. I didn't think it was great. But do you know what? If it gets you out the group in the end, if that 3 points is the difference between getting out of the group or not, it doesn't matter. Fantastic goal from Gabriel Jesus. Superb goal from Jesus. Brilliant composure from Martinelli as well for when he went through. And they kind of, they rode that storm at the end where Sevilla were doing all the kind of dark arts and they're lumping the ball in the box and all that. So listen, fair play to them. For me, I don't think it matters as much how you play in the group stages. First and foremost, you've got to get out your group, right? Get out your group. Then you start to see how good teams are. So I fully expect Arsenal to get out of that group. Fully expected them to from the beginning of the Champions League season. Was it brilliant? No. it's strange. Arsenal are not losing games, but they're not. This isn't Arsenal of last year, is it? This really isn't. When you watch them, there's not that flow. Something's missing. I don't know what it is, but from an Arsenal fan point of view, would you care if you're not losing games of football? So, look, keep winning. From an Arsenal fan point of view, you keep winning, keep staying up there. That's all you can ask. But I think their fans will probably be expecting to see some more performances like they saw last year. I don't know. Arsenal fans might tell me I'm wrong.
No, I think, listen, everybody wants to see their team win and win comfortably. I think when it comes to, it's one of those hard things sometimes. You want great performances, but then you have to look at who you're playing sometimes. And I think the last 2 games since the international break returned, there's been a hell of a lot of delusion. So an Arsenal fan said to me earlier on today, I expect us to slap a team like Sevilla. Now, so look, Sevilla have not had a great start to the season overall. However, their European home record has been very strong. Yes, I know City battered them last year. I think Dortmund got the better of them 3-1. But overall, when you watch them in the Europa League and in the Champions League at home, Sevilla have been a very, very hard team to break and beat down. The previous game to that Arsenal played was away at Chelsea. And the delusion that took over a percentage of that fan base that going away to Stamford Bridge is just an easy game because of last year and because they haven't put the ball in the back of the net this season tells me they haven't watched enough of Chelsea. So if you go into this game thinking we're going to batter Sevilla, we're going to batter Chelsea, and then you get outplayed by Chelsea but grab a draw, and I do think they were the better team against Sevilla and get a win. And by the way, their first win, I got this stat wrong yesterday because it was posted by the newspaper wrong. It wasn't their first win away in Spain in 20 years. It was their first win away in Spain in the Champions League in 20 years. They beat, I think it was Villarreal they beat back in the semi-finals of the Europa League a few years back. So I stand corrected on that, but it's only because I read it wrong on the website. So fair enough, but I put it out there. It was a really good win. I agree they want to see better performances against certain said teams. But I just think there doesn't need to be as much doom and gloom from Arsenal fans. I think they have huge, what I call first world problems. And I said it before. I'm very lucky and fortunate. I have a little swimming pool in my back garden. Me moaning about having to clean the leaves out is not a problem. Like, do you get where I'm coming from? It's a problem, it's a problem for me, but it's a problem the rest of the world don't care about. And I look at Arsenal and go, you're not in the most scintillating of form at the moment. It boils down to whether or not you think Arteta can get the team back into that. In my personal view, if City start a season poorly, no one says anything. When Fergie started seasons a little poorly, they weren't at the rate, no one said anything. I understand the question mark over Arteta because he's not them managers. However, it depends on what you believe. I have seen enough evidence in the last 2 years to think that this Arsenal team at some point soon is going to click. And a lot of it is about individuals, by the way, getting themselves back into form. Because I think Odegaard's playing poorly at the moment. Saka's done well, but he still isn't quite at the races as an example. But there's other players stepping up because Declan Rice has been amazing. I thought last night Gabriel Jesus was absolutely incredible. And I mean, I didn't realize this until after the game. He's in his last, I think it's his last 14 starts in the Champions League. He has something like 11 goals and 3 or 4 assists. He loves a start in that competition. He's playing well. Defensively, they're playing well overall. They're not conceding, generally speaking, in a huge abundance of chances. But it's had 2 hard games. But I think there's this weird, and the weirdest thing is there's a goon or a follow online who doesn't rate Arsenal, doesn't rate the manager, doesn't believe they're any good, thinks they're an awful European team, but then was angry that his team didn't batter Sevilla in the Champions League. And for me, that's where I get annoyed and think, hang on, how can you say my team's crap and then be angry when they're not battering teams? That for me is, are you just angry for angry's sake? Are you upset? I tweeted him, like I DM'd him today, and I was like, bruv, I said, what are you angry about? And he's like, I just want to start smashing teams up. I'm like, I kind of get that. But I think these people are living in a computer game. They're living in a virtual reality. The amount of times I've seen great English teams in the Champions League scrape wins or scrape draws away from home is astronomically high. And then what you get every season is a handful of away performances from the English teams where you go, wow, what a performance. What a win. That was absolutely out of this world. But it isn't like that happens week. I know they want it, but not getting it for 1 week, I just don't think it's a big enough reason to throw baby out with the bathwater. Personally,
let's look at two things here. First of all, going away to anywhere in Champions League is going to be difficult, right? Of course it is. It's going to be difficult. Going to a team like Sevilla, who have got they've got massive European pedigree. Whatever competition they're in, they are difficult to beat. We saw them the other day against Real Madrid. They are a difficult unit to beat with a new manager. Players will have a new lease of life. So Arsenal did really well to go there and get all 3 points. Yeah, there are certain players I think that are not playing well. When I watch Saka at the moment, I'm not enamored by him. I don't think he's doing a lot. I think Odegaard this year has looked very, very subpar. I'm not saying they're not good players before everyone has a go at me. They're just not playing as well. They are. But Declan Rice stepping up. He's playing well. Jesus, great performance yesterday from him as well. You know, Saliba's playing really, really well. And the thing is, they're not losing games. For me, the key thing is the Arsenal fans. So far, I keep seeing this I saw it yesterday. We're going to batter Sevilla. Right?
Stupid.
They did it with Tottenham. We're going to destroy Tottenham. We're going to batter Chelsea. Look, first and foremost, I get it. People will just go, oh, but it's backing your team. No, it's not. It's delusion. When your team is on fire, yeah. When your team is battering teams week in, week out, you turn around and go, you know what? We're gonna batter these this weekend, and fans will go, yeah, you probably will. You're playing really well. When you're not playing really, really well, to still just say we're gonna batter everyone. You know what it's like, Terry? If I turn around and say to you, Spurs are gonna batter someone 10 games in a row, one of those 10 games we're gonna batter someone, and then when that happens, I'll turn around to you and go, told you. forget the other 9 that I got wrong, Terry. Told you we're gonna batter them. Right? Now. The thing is, Arsenal last year, I thought we're going to batter everyone they played. The football was brilliant. The football was scintillating. This year, they're not playing that. And more than anything, what I'm seeing here is it's not just Arsenal fans. Loads of teams do this. I don't think they watch the other teams they're playing against. When Arsenal were playing Spurs, I had so many people that week come into my chat talking about, oh, you play like PSV and we battered them. It's like, no, we don't. Watch us play. We don't play anything like PSV. Oh, you're all open at the back. No, we're not. Watch how we play. Our midfielders don't allow that. Right, do you know what I mean? It's all these things. With Chelsea, we'll batter them. They're crap. But if you actually sit and watch Chelsea, they don't concede many goals.
Yeah, no, mate, I think you're right. And this is what I'm saying. I agree with certain Arsenal fans that have been at their best this year, but there is an overreaction but the weirdest bit is, the people that I see saying we're going to win, we're going to batter people, are the ones who don't even rate the manager and their team anyway. And it's almost, and part of me feels like, are you just planting seeds so you can always react angrily? I don't know, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, does it, for me to sit here and say, if I didn't rate Ten Hag, I don't rate any of my players, how can I expect us to play? How can my expectation be we're going to play well and batter people? It doesn't make sense. It's delusional.
Yeah, I just want to. Sorry, I've tried my best this week to not have a look at the comments, and in the main, I think I've done very well. But there's someone called Gur187 that said this Geza sounds like a hater because Spurs fans are worse. Yet you call out a minority of fans. Sorry, dude. First of all, I don't know if you've just tried. I mean, I call out Spurs fans. I don't know if you watched the first 20 minutes of this show. It was me calling out Spurs fans, right? Second of all, I'm not a hater at all. This is the difference. You know, when I said about biased fans, Terry, that can't see past their nose, I've not said anything there about Arsenal's not true. I've just turned around and said Arsenal, the main thing was to get the win, right? Second of all, Arsenal are not playing great football at the moment. That's okay. They've got to click. If they want to go on another title charge and win things, you've got to click at some point. But people get really, really offended if you say something about their team. Look what I said. I said they stuck it out. Great win away in Sevilla. Yeah, they're not playing great, but it's great. They're still up there. And yet this guy's found it as me attacking Arsenal. If, hand on heart, let me ask all the Arsenal fans in the chat, do any of you think Arsenal are playing really well? Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It means you can improve. But can any Arsenal fan, hand on heart, tell me you're happy with your performances lately? You were very poor, I thought, against Chelsea. I thought you were very poor against Spurs. I thought that you were poor against Lens. I thought you had a decent game last night, but it wasn't what we had come to expect. I just think every fan needs to sometimes take a step back and go, right, before I stick my chest out and just say nice things because I support a club, what's the reality of the situation? Yeah.
Do you know what I've always found really interesting? One of the things, for instance, about Lee Gunner when it comes to Arteta, where I give Lee, again, I don't agree with everything he says, and sometimes I feel that his reactions are over the top, and are telling this. What I will say is he's never wanted Arteta, so at least there's a fairness in there. One of the reasons why I've said to Spurs fans recently, though, that they should, and the reason I premised it with mentioning Lee is because what I'm about to talk about isn't Lee Gunner in any way, shape, or form. A lot of people that I've seen turn on Ollie, a lot of people that I've seen turn on multiple managers, and I think it's happening to Ten Hag at Man United now, are the ones who start off raving about them and saying things that are beyond achievable expectations. He's going to do X, he's going to do Y, and he's going to do Z, and it's my manager, and watch. And they sort of using that manager or this team or a certain player as this kind of fashion accessory almost. And then when it doesn't quite work out, because it wasn't likely to go like that straight away, instead of handling that embarrassment of I had a bad opinion, they go to the manager frauded us, they lied to us, they deceived us, he's not of that level. When in fact, some of the time, they're just playing where we always kind of knew he's done much wrong. But because he ends up looking silly.
Because his expectations are unrealistic.
Yes, exactly. And this is what some people do. And that's why I wanted to premise it, because I know some people go, Terry's taking shots at Lee. I'm not taking shots at Lee in any capacity. I'm stating, that's what I find so interesting about this, that some of the people that talk about our high they put the standards up here, but they set it to a level that I don't even think they believe they can achieve. But they almost do it. And if it comes off, they can say, see, I know more about football than all of you. And if it goes wrong, instead of going, oh, I was really stupid, they just go, no, it should have happened, but the manager's a fraud. No, he isn't. We're expecting Pochettino year one with this squad to batter away one of the greatest, by the way, with ease, one of the greatest English sides of all time. Do me a favor. Like, Leicester did well to win the league title, right? But if Man City were as good now as they are now, if Liverpool were as good then as they are now, I even think if Arsenal were as good then as they are now, Leicester wouldn't have won the league. I'm so sure of that. They just wouldn't have won the league if there was all those. And that's
I agree.
You win the league when you win the league. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. And they deserved it that season. But this notion that a team is just going to come from obscurity and overtake these teams now, it didn't happen in the pomp of Fergie, and it isn't happening in the pomp of Pep either. You're going to have to build a team up over a couple of years to be anywhere near that standard and that strength in depth.
You know what? The Leicester example is always the example used. So when I say, for example, Spurs won't win the league, Leicester did it. Right. As far as I remember, Leicester weren't against all of these teams that Spurs are up against. Right. When I look at the league table, people are talking about winning a league when you're 2 points clear after 9 games, and Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, they're all there, right? Man United are moving up the table. Newcastle are winning games, moving up the table. Brighton are there. So I think you're right. But Terry, again, you're bang on the money. People put their own expectations on it, and then when that doesn't happen, they blame others for it not happening. Sometimes you have thought that it's just that pure delusion. So, for example, what I hear at the moment a lot is, we always beat Man City. Okay, but normally, why do Spurs beat Man City? Spurs normally beat Man City, Terry, because we were very, very good at putting 10 men behind the ball and counter-attacking, right? And Man City, we've somehow managed to make sure that they didn't find any gaps. Spurs don't play that way anymore. Spurs are more open. We're not open, but our style of football will allow teams to get in behind us. Fulham got in behind us, right? You allow that to happen to Man City, goal. So, listen, you know my opinion. I've said Man City are going to win this league. Man City, for me, it don't matter if they lose 2 or 3 more between now and January. Man City will be the team that go on that run the other side of the year when everyone's fully fit, when everyone's in that kind of business end of the season mode. That's when Man City come into their own.
And this is the one thing I will say as well. Every team has peaks and troughs in a season. Even City, I mean, when they did 100 points, they still had periods where they weren't as good, scraping results, lost a few. So for Arsenal, it's this side of things to me. We look back at it. I just think they're in a period where they're not playing particularly well. I would rather that be at the start of the season and still gain points than when it happened last year.
Sure.
And the irony in this is a lot of Arsenal fans know their pattern in typical years. It was start, like the first few games start poorly, have a really good period, and then collapse. And then end the season very well. That was like the Arsenal pattern for a long time. The fact that they've started this season slightly out of pattern with winning but slow start, again, I can only see this as an outsider because I have no emotional investment. But when I look at that on the outside, that's a good omen that you're starting in a way that's different to how you've done before. Now, they've got to get back into form, but I think they're going to do it. As I said before, I think Arsenal fans should criticize certain players and individuals, but I do think there is too much panic and too much throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I don't think that's going to help their team. And that's the happy medium in this. Like I said about Man United, I agree Rashford got to be dropped, but sell him and we'll become Premier League champions again. Shut up.
Terry, again, you get fans up here, you get fans down here, and then every now and then you get some fans that are just sitting in there waiting to see what happens, right? Because more often than not, the people that are panicking will be wrong in some way or another. The people that are going way over the top with their praise will be brought back down to reality. And the people in the middle will go, this is why we wanted to see what would happen. Now, again, I'll put this out there. I'm not here to tell anyone what to enjoy. Enjoy it. Whether you're Spurs, whether you're Villa, whether you're Brighton, whoever you are right now, enjoy it. Right? All I'm saying is, if as football fans, we have not learned what Man City do as a club year after year after year, and if we don't, I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying 100% that's what will happen, but the probability, which is more important than opinions, the probability tells you Man City are the best equipped, have the knowledge, have the know-how, have the experience, and have the manager to do it. So Man City, when they get to January and decide to go on their 20-25 game run where they might lose 1 out of 25 games or whatever it is, that's what it takes to win titles. After 9 games, no one's winning a title. No one's winning a title.
Yeah. I mean, and this year, I think, is where I would put it with Arsenal. There's 2 points off top of the Champions League group and into the next round of the league. And this is what I find really interesting. Last year, again, this is where I try to... this isn't even about my opinion. This is me trying to hold people to, everyone talks about standards of my club, but what about the standard of your opinion? So last year, when you didn't take the Europa League seriously and you went out of the League Cup and said bigger fish to fry as a club, like, I don't know if the fans said it, the people that are angry right now are like, no, we have to try and win everything. So this year, top of the Champions League group, into the next round of the League Cup, second in the league. I know the performances aren't there, but in terms of where you are, results-based business, you're in a much better space than last season. You are in a better space overall than you were last year. And this is why I say criticize and ask for more. But being angry right now, I said that many times, makes no sense to me. Some super chats here. This one says, get a pool cover and your problems have gone. Can't quite work like that. But yeah, I hear you. Thoughts on Everton's potential? Yeah, have you heard about that? Everton might be facing a 12 points deduction for breaking FFP rules.
Yeah, I did see something on it. I'll be honest, I haven't really read the articles. I saw it pop up about an hour or two ago. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it. I can't say if they've done it, if they haven't. I don't really know a lot about it.
Yeah, I've got to read the story. What I do find interesting is for one breach. And again, this is what I mean by people can't take jokes either. I just quote tweeted it and said, Man City will end up in the Sunday League over Hackney Marshes at this rate. You just hate our club. It's a joke. It's just a joke. I didn't mean anything by it. Like, it was just a point that if Everton are found guilty of one breach and they get a 12 points deduction, imagine you're found guilty of 115. Like, again, it just made me laugh a little bit. Now, again, not all of their breaches are as serious. Some of them are for the length of grass. But again, I always feel this generally in life. If people are offended by a joke that's not about something overly emotive, it tells you they're worried. That's all I'm going to say.
The number of people that get upset when anyone mentions their, like, no one mentions Spurs, and I go, what? We're brilliant. How can I don't care. But people, you watch. If I mention Arsenal, even just now when I said Arsenal are good and will probably be right up there and finish second or third, oh, he's a hater. Why?
Hater said he coming third.
Yeah. Arsenal will win the league. Is that what you want to hear? Because Spurs fans want me to say that about Spurs. Man City fans want me to say that about Man City.
Yeah, it's crazy. This year says fans moaned Arsenal only played one way. Now this season, fans moan fans only want plan A, not B or C. Teams are now cautious, so football will be different. And there's loads of factors to that. I do think teams are approaching Arsenal differently. I think they're trying new tactics, new approaches to nullify them, and there's growth that's needed in there. It's this. again, football fans, we'll do it. I wanted Man United to go to another level this year, and it hasn't happened. Not all football is linear. Not all football is, well, we were good this season, next season, that definitely means we're going to be even better. It doesn't always work like that. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't criticize. It doesn't mean you shouldn't challenge. But sometimes you've got to have a little bit of patience in there and see how things kind of progress and pan out. But maybe that is personally just me. On Newcastle, I already mentioned, how do you think they'll get on tonight in the Champions League?
Yeah, listen, Newcastle seem to be rising to the occasion in the big games. So listen, this will be a good test for them. Let's see how good they are. Was PSG was it a fluke, or is that going to be the norm? Is it going to be an anomaly or the norm or the normality? So we'll see. Listen, I wish them the best of luck. Newcastle have done nothing to offend me. I don't wish them any bad feelings in these sort of games. So good luck to them. I hope they do well. I think what they've done at that club in the last 2 years has been nothing short of miraculous. Yeah, so fair play to them.
Yeah, I mean, they win as well. They could go on 7 points. They'll be in the group of death. To be on 7 points, it would just be phenomenal. Yeah. Again, it shows in the early stages of the competition as well the strength of the Premier League. Arsenal top of their group, Newcastle top of their group. City, United kind of letting the team down a little bit at a minute, but it just shows, generally speaking, the overall strength of the Premier League, especially for a team like Newcastle. And they're scoring a lot of goals at the minute, like in the Prem. Yeah. They scored 4 in the last match. Even that away, that draw now away from home against Milan looks like a good result. But they need this because then it's going to be 2 back-to-back away games, away against Dortmund, and then it'll be away against Paris Saint-Germain. So get the win tonight, get onto 7 points. And then who knows, you could be in the knockout stages later on in this competition. And Mama Flossie will be happy there as a Newcastle fan as well. Young Boys versus in this. By the way, I have heard a rumor that Young Boys Stadium is named Wanked Off.
It's I think it's pronounced Vankdorf. I think from what I'm led to believe, I believe it's pronounced Vankdorf. Somebody probably more intelligent than me will know more, but
even then, I'm gonna go to Vanked Off. I'm a child, but there we go.
I think they'll batter them tonight. By the way, I think they'll batter them.
Just the thing is, it's not even a dig at City. They're so good. There's the praise. To have a group like they're in, it just means their group stage is non-existent to neutrals and rivals. No one's gonna care because we just know you're winning. It's the good thing about Newcastle's group, Arsenal's group, even to a certain degree. Like with losing Man United, losing a game, some tough teams in there, it gives it a little bit of jeopardy early on, if that makes sense. It really does.
Yeah, I think this is the key thing. Man City always just do enough to get out of their group. I say always just do enough. They just kind of go through the group. Every now and then they pick up a draw, but they go through. They'll come into their own when it matters in knockout games. Let's be brutally honest. Does anyone want to play Man City over 2 legs? Teams might fancy themselves in a one-off game. Do you want to play them twice in a week? You don't. Let's be really honest. The chances of catching them bad 2 games in a row is really, really low. So, you're right. It is what it is. I fully expect that game will just be brushed aside and we all go, oh, they'll win 3-0, 4-1, whatever it is. So, yeah.
Maria Williams in the house. Hope you're well. Terry, stop that cap. RB Leipzig and Red Star Belgrade are tough opponents. I'm going to be blunt with you. You are, in my opinion, the best team in the world. And I think you are superior to those 2 teams by such a country mile. I'm not saying they're easy games, as in they're piss easy, you don't respect them. But you are, if you played those teams 10 times, 10 weeks running, so 20 matches, I think you might fail to win 2 of them. Max. And that might be away against Leipzig and it could be draws. So, I think you're that good. And that's a praise in there, my friend. And I just mean it from a rival point of view. I like the Arsenal game being on last night. I think Sevilla could do something here. All of Newcastle's games are like that. Man United shouldn't probably be like that against Copenhagen, but it's got that way because we lost our opening 2 games, so there's jeopardy. I'm just saying, from a spectacle point of view, it's better. But look, I want to thank the viewers today for tuning in. It means a great deal to us that you're all here. Do us a big, big favor and smash the like button. Please make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace and turned on the bell notifications as well. Until next time, my people, you take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all.